ourselves on our reputation as a tolerant, welcoming country. But that tolerance was sorely tested last summer when several boatloads of illegal immigrants from China began turning up on BC's shores. Canadian talk radio went crazy. One group particularly concerned about how to handle the boat people is the Chinese-Canadian community. Now firmly entrenched in mainstream society, Canadians of Chinese descent are divided about the new arrivals. The Year of the Dragon. In February, Chinese Canadians celebrate the New Year, a time known for luck, prosperity, and goodwill. But that fortune is not shared by many of the world's billion Chinese. Recently, hundreds have fled China's poor, rural Fujian province, willing to risk death aboard rusting ships and in squalid cargo containers for the chance at a better life in North America, the place they call the Golden Mountain.
What motivates somebody to get into the dark, dank, disgusting hull of a ship with not enough food, not enough water, no daylight for weeks maybe, and take that kind of a risk?
They want to get away. Why did the Irish come? You know, Angela's ashes, all that kind of stuff.
What are they escaping?
Poverty, extreme poverty, and the concept that that North America is land of Canada, United States, land of freedom.
When they began turning up on Canadian shores, they ignited a fierce debate.
I don't think the majority of people in the community, nor mainstream Canadians, would view them as victims. They were not forced to take the voyage. They willingly paid the money, or at least paid a down payment, and agreed to work off the balance.
We should not see these people as criminals, or somehow they are at fault. And we should treat them as the same way we treat anybody else who comes through the system.
How do you think the debate is playing out within the Chinese-Canadian community?
Unfortunately, I think that many of us, the members of our community, are buying into the stereotypes and the fear-mongering that is being portrayed by the mainstream media in some instances.
And when they come to Canada, almost 40% of Chinese immigrants end up in Toronto, settling in Markham and Scarborough and the downtown Chinatown. Almost 400,000 strong, they are the biggest minority group in the city. Up until the late 90s, most came from Hong Kong, but that's changing. Most now come from mainland China.
I think historically there has been some kind of regionalism going on. You also look at the Chinese media, which is controlled by and large by Cantonese-speaking Hong Kong immigrants. So they will try to portray the Fujianese as different from, the people who are here.
And maintain the existing.
We brought together 3 Chinese Canadians of different backgrounds to see what they thought.
We have to be very careful about giving a wrong message. Okay, you come here, as soon as you land here, you step your foot on, you just open your mouth and you make a refugee claim, and then you're safe in here. I think that we have to do something. Our government has to do something about it. We really have to tighten up the entry, the illegal entry.
Everybody came to Canada, they have a right to apply for convention refugee. Once they apply, their status is on pending. So if we send them back at this time, this against the law. So I think we shouldn't do that, because, we're saying like illegal immigrant, they are breaking the law, but we break the law first. How can we do that?
I've been more concerned about how this story's been sensationalized, actually. If you look at the numbers we're looking at, it's a percentage of what happens at Pearson in a week. But the story's gotten so much coverage, and I think, simply because there's a dramatic shot for the media to take, a boatload of people perhaps in a cargo container.
Let's talk about the migrants themselves. Are they looking for simply economic betterment, or do you think there's some political persecution at work here as well?
I think it's kind of meaningless sometimes, to sort of draw the line on the sand. This is political, this is not. We should try to understand that the political economic system in China is such that these factors are very well integrated.
They're looking for a better life. You know, God bless them. Everybody looks for a better life in economic terms. But the question is, as a receiving country, are we in a position to accept that? Should we accept that?
We do know for a fact that the so-called snakeheads who are arranging for these voyages do recruit people from mainland China with one thing in mind is for them to come over here to bolster the existing gang power in North America. So on every ship, there's going to be an X amount of people here coming here for the sole purpose of becoming gang members.
We've talked here already about immigrant crime as a problem, and you have had an experience with credit card theft in particular. How big a problem is this? How much has it penetrated the community?
What's happened in Chinatown is that the merchants have found, the restaurant owners in particular, have found that when they hired the Fujianese immigrants, I'll call them for now, that in fact they were copying the credit card numbers, giving them to somebody. A duplicate card is made, and they're used within 24 or 48 hours.
Credit manufacturing and fraudulent credit cards are still controlled by the more established Big Circle boys. They have been in Toronto for over 10 years. The new wave of migrants, well, we're talking about the people that are coming from the boats, they're still in the infant stage of setting up their gang base. I can assure you the Big Circle boys are not going to give up the heroin trade that easily to the Fujianese gangs. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out when two gangs cannot agree with certain things, then it's going to be a war. It's going to be a turf war.
It's interesting that conservative elements, or more conservative elements of the Chinese community, have perhaps in their quest for respectability been echoing the same kind of concerns that perhaps we'd see out of the Reform Party.
I know that some people associate with the Fujianese with the gangs and stuff. I don't think that is fair to do it. But it so happened that these 600 people is from Fujian. Maybe do you think it's fair to stigmatize your own?
We don't see too many. Even maybe a very little. They have breaking the law, things like that. Normally they're working hard. They do like a normal life. They work. They went to school or things like that.
So we make you immigration minister. What do you want to do about this?
What I would do is expedite the refugee termination process, detain them until the process is over, notwithstanding some criticism because of that. I would also do whatever was within my power to make sure the Chinese government understood how severely we view this.
I think that it's also important for Canadians to start paying more attention to the situation in China and start questioning why is it that people want to leave that country. If they are really doing well, they don't have to leave. And then hopefully the next step is, sort of asking our government to help China become a real democratic society.
Later on Studio 2, the Women's Institutes.
Start our meeting with the Ode and the Mary Stuart Column.
Ontario's first feminists.
In the beginning, they were interested in cookery, in nutrition, and from that came the spin-off on health and baby clinics in rural communities, immunizations in schools, and they just branched out and looked at the community as a whole and how could they make a difference.
Up next, the RSP season.
The way you sing, okay.
Are consumers skittish about mutual funds?